Noel Gallagher has often mentioned in interviews that he never studied music theory.
I was having this conversation with her and she'd studied musical theory, which I found and still do find to this day fucking hilarious, you know what I mean? The theory of music. What the fuck's all that about? Yeah, do you know what I mean? So she was saying, well, for you to come up with that chord, you must have studied musical theory. And I was like, I can assure you, love, that I haven't. I wouldn't even know where you go to study that. I can't even spell theory.
I see guitarists, right, who are extremely, extremely gifted and can play anything, but they can't write.
Yeah. For him, writing a good song isn't about being like technically proficient, but instead, it's about being able to recognize when you have a great tune.
I think me, as a songwriter, the greatest gift is not coming up with the chords or the melody or the words. It's recognizing there's something happening, you know, and to be switched on. Keith Richards talks about the songs are all in the air and blah, 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 and all that. I liken it to fishing, right? And if you're not at the river, you're not catching out, you know what I mean? And I go there every fucking day of my life. If I've got an hour to spare, before I came here today, I'll sit and I'll play the guitar for an hour, watching Match of the Day 2 with the sound down. Not really thinking about it. Nothing happened today, you know, but don't stop me going back there tomorrow. And then this week might get something, you know.
Do you get moments where you're like, for instance, you're just pottering about and then, hang on a minute, the song's just coming?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Simple as that.
They just fall out of the sky.
An example of this is Don't Look Back in Anger, which Noel wrote in a hotel room after playing a gig in Paris, with the Verve opening for Oasis in 1995.
Wow, what happened that night when I wrote that song? What? And I've sat and I've read the lyrics and I play it every night, and I'm still like, just magic from the gods, you know. Somebody, that night, I wrote it in Paris on a rainy night, and somebody just said, there, that's for you.
But it's worth noting that the lyrics of the chorus, arguably one of the key aspects of the song, did not just appear out of thin air. Instead, Noel was practicing the song in a sound check, and for the chorus he was just kind of mumbling random words when his brother chimed in.
And I was doing it in the sound check, and I was, the So Sally bit, I wasn't singing that. And he come up to me in the sound check and he went, are you singing So Sally Can Wait?
No, I walked up and I said, yeah, I reckon you should fucking sing So Sally Can Wait.
Right,
you know,
which is the truth? Did he write that lyric?
Yes,
or did
of course,
you, because
he fucking did. And he reckons I was, you know.
But he said, all right, let's just say, for argument's sake.
Right.
So he alluded to the fact, well, are you singing So Sally Can Wait? And I said, no, and he said, well, you should do.
Although Oasis songs are relatively simple, with like Wonderwall even being one of the top contenders for first songs to learn on the guitar, there is more subtlety in them than initially meets the ear.
I would play solos, you know, but they weren't like these. I mean, they fit the song, and they were melodic and magical, and they were right. But I think the beauty of it is that anyone could play them.
Well, you say that, but I've heard 1,000 bands play Don't Look Back in Anger, and I've never heard anyone play the guitar solo correctly.
Well, come and see me live this summer and you'll see someone who still can't play it correctly.
To be fair though, Noel usually delegates the guitar solo on his solo tours, so he probably hadn't played it in a while. Also, at this specific gig, they played the song in the original key, whereas generally, they changed the key to one step lower, so that probably got him muddled up.
You find yourself drifting off sometimes. For instance, we had a new kitchen put in our house. And I was just playing a song one night I played a million times before, and I just found myself drifting off. And as I was kind of thinking, I hope they've not put the dishwasher in a stupid place. I hope they've moved the sink from under the window. And then the next thing was like, I was supposed to be playing a guitar solo and I wasn't. And the rest of my band were falling around laughing, and I'd completely forgotten where I was. But
like, even if the chords of songs like Wonderwall or Don't Look Back in Anger are quite basic, to actually get the same feel or like the exact same sound as Noel is actually quite tricky because he uses like specific variations of those chords. So like a beginner might get 80% of it down, but to get those remaining 20%, you actually need to be an advanced player. In a similar way, although the vocals of Don't Look Back in Anger seem quite simple, there are actually some really tricky parts that Noel sings like completely seamlessly.
Step outside, summertime's in bloom. Stand up beside the fireplace, take that look from off your face, because you ain't never gonna burn my...
You have to make it look easy, because you have to entice other people into it. If you're upstage grimacing, sweating, and like, seen Paul Stacey play live? Honestly, it looks like he's having a fight with a bear, right? He's really kind of, it's like, mate, that would not make me want to play the guitar, right? So I was like, you have to make this look easy. It gets other people into it.
In that snippet that we just saw, there's also that chord progression, which I like to call the Noel chord progression, because it appears in many Oasis songs. Like, it's the same chord that appears in Supersonic that Amy Mann was referring to in that first clip.
Bridge chord going into the chorus, the one that goes, and before tomorrow. She was saying, well, for you to come up with that chord, you must have studied musical theory.
Basically, it's a compound chord, meaning that the bass note is not playing the root note of the chord. In general, even if the chords in Oasis songs are pretty basic, Noel plays them in a specific way, whether it's the strumming pattern or the variations that he's applying to them. But he likely does that just by kind of experimenting with the chords.
I remember being on a tour bus in the States and somebody saying they're going to do this book, the Definitely Maybe book. And they said, can you write the chords down? And I was like, I couldn't fucking tell you, I really don't know. And they go, well, you give somebody a pointer somewhere. And I remember writing that they all, Live Forever starts in G, and you'll have to take it from there. And I remember getting the proof readings of it back and just laughing our heads off. I didn't know what a suspended augmented ninth was. And I was going, that's not fucking right at all. I often wonder if I'd have been like a prodigious talent on the fretboard, I'd have concentrated on that, and not on the strumming and my timing and the melodies and the chords.
The songs aren't catchy just because of the chords. It's the combination of those chords with the vocal melodies and the lyrics on top of them that make them unique. So like, sure, Noel didn't study music theory, but he still practiced a lot. And I mean, I guess you automatically gain knowledge when you're practicing something regularly. In an interview, Noel mentioned that he practiced a lot as a kid by playing along to many records.
I used to get in trouble a lot as a child, and I used to get, grounded, or what became known as grounded. And to alleviate the boredom and the sadness, I would play along to records with this guitar. And I got in a lot of trouble. So I happened to be practicing quite a lot. I think the first things I learnt to play were Joy Division bass lines on the thing. But yeah, the first chords that I learned was House of the Rising Sun. I still play it from time to time when I used to play the guitar, still when I play the guitar now, and when I used to play it when I was a child, it would transport me somewhere else.
First song I learned to play was House of the Rising Sun. And really when I kind of mastered playing 4 chords in a row, that was it, I was off. There's no stopping me then.
I think the main thing is that Noel considers spontaneity as a key aspect of his songwriting. I don't make art, I make pop music. I'm not saying pop music is not art. Fundamentally, it is art because you're creating something from nothing. I mean in the flowery sense. I wouldn't consider myself to be an artist like fucking, I don't know, Kate Bush or Tom York. Get it out. I get it out and it's there. Anyway, I've accepted my limitations as a songwriter fucking years ago. I never studied music in school. I was never given a lesson and I was never taught how to play anything. I play what I play. I'm influenced by what I'm influenced by, and that's it. I've accepted my limitations, and I work within those parameters.
People say to me, so can you read music? And you say, no, people find it fascinating that you can't. But I don't know anybody that can. I don't know anybody that could write musical notes out and then play it.
Do you think if you knew how to do that, it might ruin you?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the more you learn, the less you know. That's the great thing about punk rock. I was just very young when punk rock came out in the late 70s, and that was the ethos. Do it for yourself. But yeah, I often wonder if I was a wizard on the fretboard, would I have written songs so simple as Live Forever? Only a writer could have written it.
Anyway, that was just my take. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to like and subscribe. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one.